Godstrike is an interesting short boss rush game. It focuses heavily on bullet hell type of gameplay, offers a decent amount of customization through skills and passives, as well as randomized challenge through its roguelike mode. If you're interested in more in-depth analysis, then check out my review of Godstrike, link is in the description. This video is dedicated solely to the bosses of the game, 10 magnificent foes, their design, different phases of combat. I'm going to rank them in terms of difficulty and give you some tips how to overcome those fights. This is of course my opinion, you can disagree with me, which is totally fine. Tutoriaal is a great entry boss. This is a 3-stage fight. First phase is pretty easy. Boss uses only 3 attacks and barely moves. Rock throw forces players to move. Fireballs shoot slowly in different directions, creating easily recognizable lines. Then there is a rock wave skill which forces players to move. Second phase gets a little bit crazier. This time boss chases players as there is a set of 3 leaps into player's position, then Tutoriaal uses a beam attack or the airstrike marked with lines going from north to south. This stage is methodical and easy to get, even for newcomers. Close to the end of the second phase, Tutoriaal surrounds itself with 2 circles of moving destructible rocks. In order to finish it off, player need to break the boulders. At the same time, Tutoriaal commands singular airstrikes into random positions. Breaking rocks releases additional projectiles. Player also has to move since the airstrikes occasionally target Talal's position. It might get hectic, but it's perfectly manageable and it teaches players spatial awareness towards different attacks at the same time. The last phase introduces a new movement pattern for the boss. Tutoriaal charges into player's direction, then uses one of its skills. Charge is easy to avoid. The tricky thing here is that boss does not wait for the ability to finish before charging again, so player has to be ready to dodge. Tutoriaal is a great first boss. This fight teaches players that they have to be aware of their surroundings and they have to constantly move. In terms of difficulty, I would rank this boss fight as 3 out of 10. First of all, the design of Khalepo is nothing special. I saw similar totem-based enemies in other games. Still, assigning each element of the totem to different phase felt interesting and creative. I had one-shot at Tutoriaal on my first playthrough, but Khalepo proved to be much tougher opponent. Even to a point where this boss wrecked many of my challenge runs. Okay. No! No! Fuck! Fortunately for me, he's an early boss, so I got a lot of opportunities to train and learn his abilities. Right now, I can confidently say that I'm not afraid of this huge totem, but early in my adventure it was a pain in the ass. So, throughout the whole fight, the boss does not move. Its various elements just spin around. You might want to actually direct your attention to which side his currently active segment faces, as some skills fire directly from its front. First phase accustoms players to 3 skills of the boss: purple balls which shoot projectiles, random spray of fireballs and 3 successive waves of fireballs. This phase is pretty easy. Staying further away from boss makes it easier to dodge. Second phase changes the 3 abilities a little bit. Instead of 4 purple balls, you have 1 which spawns moving lines of projectiles. Instead of easy to avoid 3 successive waves of bullets coming from the middle of the totem, they now spawn from its, let's call it, hands. In this phase, it is helpful to pay attention to the hands and an opening between them. Purple ball comes from the opening, while being aware of the hands helps you position away from them so you have a little bit more time to react. For the long time, the last ability, a spray of bullets, made the fight hard for me, as I thought that I actually have to dodge the bullets. In reality, it is possible to position Talal between 2 rows of projectiles so you don't have to move at all, while Khalepo uses this ability. Third phase is very easy. Boss creates a red line which rotates around the combat arena, effectively reducing it to half its size and forcing player to move with it. Then Khalepo shoots projectiles into the arena, only to slowly pull them back. My advice would be to get a good positioning closer to the red line which you are chasing, not the one that chases you. Try to move a little bit between the first obstacles, and as the furthest fireballs start to move towards Khalepo, glue yourself to the wall and continue your run around the boss. Rinse and repeat. As it's a really easy phase, I would advise to collect souls in order to nuke down the boss in 4th phase if you have some good offensive abilities. 4th phase is the hardest one. 4 purple balls return. Each one of them spawns 4 lines of projectiles. This attack is pretty easy to dodge. There is a spray of random bullets, then there are 2 other patterns of shooting fireballs. For me, the key to avoiding these 2 new lines of fire was to move counterclockwise when they were used. It makes the fight much easier. Khalepo definitely presents a difficulty spike. It's not a tremendous difference, but still, many players will need to replay this fight in order to get comfortable with it. Therefore, I rate its difficulty as 6 out of 10, slightly above the average. Drakhul starts the fight in a coffin made of its own corpse. The combat arena is very interesting. Lava fields pose another obstacle for the player, yet they allow for touching them for a short periods of time before getting hurt, so remember that. I have to say, the first stage of this fight confused the hell out of me. I had zero idea how I should avoid the waves of projectiles. Then they get faster. Then the coffin starts to shoot another spray of bullets on each side, creating a deadly whips of projectiles. The thing is that once you realize that you have to only strafe a little bit to the right, then to the left, this phase becomes really easy. Second stage shows Drakhul's true face. It also introduces additional enemies in form of ghastly skulls. Blue ones are indestructible, while purple ones are designed to be destroyed ASAP. Main thing here is not to panic and kill purple skulls. They can create an unnecessary impediment if left alive for too long. Third stage reduces the playing field. Drakhul becomes more interested in charging into players. The skull also uses a new ability where it encircles itself with breakable boulders and shoots waves of fire into Tutoriaal. Break just 1 or 2 of these stones and then just hit the boss as much as you can. In my opinion, Drakhul sits in the middle of the scale. If you've watched my late review about Godstrike, you know that I really dislike Mobus. If someone really struggled with previous bosses, then I guess they will have an incredibly hard time taking down this train. You see, Mobus moves fast. You have to shoot down its cards. When a certain card is down, then it will no longer count damage towards the boss. So, the lesser the cards, the harder it is to reliably deal damage. In my opinion, if I really wanted to get good at taking down Mobus, I would have to learn its movement patterns. There are like 6 or 7 of them. If you remember where the train is heading, then it's easier to successfully shoot at its elements. It doesn't help that in the second phase you can only shoot him into his rear end. And that second phase, man, it's tough. Boss spawns mines which after some time blow up, either in barrage of projectiles or creating an exploding balls, or even in creating those walls which hurt like hell. It's a hard fight, the one which to this point I didn't get right. Each time I managed to defeat this boss was only if I got a good set of passives and skills in challenge runs. In story mode I cheesed it with overload ability for maximum damage. So my verdict will be that this is an 8 out of 10, and at the same time it's my most hated boss fight of Godstrike. The idea for moving train and eliminating its various cards is really good, I just don't like how frustrating it is. Dhum is a surprise. This is actually one of the easier fights for me. Also, I feel like there should be a disclaimer put in here. Every boss fight from this point onwards will be discussed mainly from challenge mode perspective, as it is directly at the point where players get to Dhum that cheesy, overpowered loadout becomes available for the player, therefore nullifying every encounter's strategies. If you are interested what do I consider by the cheesy loadout, then it's an overload ability plus shield ability plus faster projectiles cooldown paired with faster projectiles passive and any amount of defensive passives. This way player uses shield, gets into boss's face, fires up overload and faster bullets, nukes the enemy. Then, since it's a great burst of damage, there will be plethora of souls which just dropped, allowing for fast recharge of the abilities and the nuke can start again. So, Dhum is this robotic orb. The charge move is pretty well telegraphed, so it shouldn't be hard to avoid. By this time, his bullet spray ability shouldn't be hard for you. The main mechanic to get right in this first phase is his spinning ability. where the boss chases the player bouncing from walls. It's really easy to abuse the boss and deal massive amount of damage in that phase, but if you miscalculate the bounces and get caught in the spin, then it's game over. The second phase sees Dhum attaching itself to the wall and shooting the player. The overwhelming barrage of bullets where boss follows Talal's movement might be hard to avoid, so retreating a little bit to the back might make it more manageable. Another problematic obstacle might be the robotic arm appearing from time to time above the player, trying to crush them and releasing projectiles on impact, so pay attention to it. Third phase is a combination of the first and second stage. This is the burn phase, so fire up all your offensive cooldowns. Abuse the spinning and charge attacks, but be wary of the robotic arm and remember that some projectiles will still be shot at you from the wall. Still, I rate this boss fight as 5 out of 10. It's decent, but in my personal opinion, it's the second easiest encounter in the game. Yelodit is such a cool boss. In first phase, players fight against two enemies, the Radiant and Dark Shards of the boss. Player has to damage the shard corresponding to the state of environment. If arena is lit, then the Radiant Shard is damageable, while the Dark Shard is immune. The situation changes 180 degrees when arena gets engulfed in shadow. I found out that the projectile lines created by enemies are easy to avoid. The situation gets tougher when both shards shoot scattered missiles. When the first shard is brought down, the second one positions itself in the center of the arena. It's quite easy to finish it off. The second phase sees both shards combined into one being, using two types of attacks at the same time. At this stage, Yelodit does not move. It sits at the center of the arena, making it an easy target. Most of the attacks can be avoided by picking up a careful position. There is one ability which forces player to change position and move through barrage of bullets. If you time your movement right, then you should be able to do it without taking damage. If you can't do it, then maybe it's the right time to use a defensive ability if you have one. During the third phase, boss starts to move again. I think it's crucial to keep your distance from Yelodit at all times, since a lot of its attacks form a missile barrier close to the boss. Staying further away from the boss makes it easier to dodge it. Yelodit is quite a tough boss. I really enjoyed the design of it and pure chaos created by the barrage of projectiles. This is my favorite fight in the game. When it comes to difficulty, I would give it 7 out of 10. Nuranaag is a long fight. In the first two phases, the boss is immobile. The second half of the fight makes this Anup Arak wannabe slowly chasing the player. First stage introduces various attack patterns. It's crucial to learn how to avoid the projectile barrage. Staying far away lets you reliably find passages through it. Another hard ability to deal with are the firewalls with little breaks approaching player from all sides of the room. The key thing here is to remember the pattern. This way you can anticipate it. Once you learn how to avoid it, it becomes much easier as the pattern stays the same. Second phase adds two new mechanics which are strongly connected to each other. Nuranaag will drop orange blobs at some parts of the arena. They deal damage on contact and spawn projectiles which should be avoided. Once they landed, you need to stay close to at least one. From time to time, boss will conjure a lightning strike which electrifies all of the water in the arena. The damage is so massive that it's impossible to tank it. You need to stay on orange blob in order to avoid the damage. That's why you need to be aware of your surroundings. It's also beneficial to learn how to recognize when Nuranaag prepares to electrify water. Third phase increases the stakes as now Nuranaag slowly chases Talal. Arena gets much bigger, but the most important thing is to still remember that boss will electrify the floor from time to time. You can stay on the orange blobs or on the grassy island to avoid it. It's easier to recognize when boss is preparing the electrify ability. Instead of chasing you, it will stay in place for a second or two. Fourth phase makes one crucial change. Orange blobs stop spawning, yet boss is still going to cast electrify. How to avoid it? You need to draw out Nuranaag from its green isle. If it's staying there and water is struck with lightning, then you will have nowhere to hide. So make him chase you into the water. When electrify comes, run quickly to the island. There are other new abilities used here, but lightning damage will kill you mostly, so this one is crucial to get right. I have to say that forcing players to think about creating safe spot for themselves is such an interesting approach. This fight gradually teaches players about its dangers and hazards, but in the last phase takes away the free safe spots, forcing players to plan their movement in order to create a new safe space. It's impressive, I love it. Sentiel is Godstrike's take on Grim Reaper boss. It's another 4-stage fight. The main boss will be open for direct damage only in the last phase. Before that you will have to attack the crystal chained to Sentiel. In the first phase, boss introduces its basic pool of abilities. It will charge the player, throw its weapon, creating barrage of projectiles. The main thing is, Sentiel's projectiles move faster than the ones of other bosses. Second phase allows the boss to move the crystal. The hardest ability to dodge in here is the spin attack, where Sentiel spins crystal in a wide arc around himself, shooting bullets at the player at the same time. The easiest way to avoid it is to bait the boss to place crystal close to the walls of the arena. Preferably, he should stay there as well. As soon as crystal hits the wall, the ability ends, so he won't be able to spin crystal around anymore. In third phase, the crystal is going to be split into two smaller ones. Both of them are damageable. If you have an ability like Overload or anything able to damage two targets at the same time, then it's great for choosing this phase, as it will deal double the damage in the same time. This phase is hard. Sentiel throws crystal shards at the player constantly. He swings both crystal much more frequently. Then there is the ability where you have to run away from the shards chasing you and casting fire bullets around themselves. After destroying crystals, Sentiel is free. Now he is able to be damaged. His most frequent ability to use is a triple charge followed by creating a pattern of bullets. Again, walls can stop him. Don't get too close to the boss as he likes to cast a circle of fire around himself. Stay at mid-range. You also need to be pretty accurate in here as he is going to move a lot. In my opinion, thanks to his faster projectiles and sometimes unpredictable movement of crystal shards, this boss deserves 8 out of 10 difficulty rating. Cindael is another boss which I really like. The arena is surrounded by spears which will damage the player if they get too close. Cindael offers a break from bullet hell. This boss is all about getting in your face, so fast melee attacks combined into combo strings are dominant in here. Ranged attacks do not focus on quantity of small bullets. There are fewer projectiles, but they are wider in range as Cindael throws spinning sides at the player effectively, reducing space for dodging. First phase introduces couple of melee attack combinations. Player is constantly on the move. If they get too far, they need to avoid getting hit by the triple thrown spears. There is also a homing spear attack following the player, but as long as you keep moving, you should be fine. Second phase changes spear for glaive. Now boss can spin around herself. Also her attack combos create a line of small spears to follow in the direction of the attack. Player is forced to move more to the side. Third phase is a side phase. Most melee attacks deal an area of effect damage around the boss, so you should not stay close to her. She also uses small rotating sides as projectiles in this phase. Then there's the attack creating 3 tears in the ground. Just dodge it and keep DPSing the boss. The main thing here is to constantly move while she's doing her scythe melee swings, as their cleave range is quite wide. Last stage of this fight makes her switch through previous weapons on the fly. Keep attention to which weapon is used, so you can anticipate which attacks will be used. Also, most of her abilities are empowered. They will be wider in range, the side ground attack create more tears, etc. In my opinion, it's best to learn the first 3 stages and try to burn her down with cooldowns in the last phase. Keep moving at all times. Difficulty 7 out of 10. And now we arrive at the last boss. Garodal has 4 stages. This boss is quite hard with the last phase representing a strong difficulty spike. So first of all, Garodal doesn't like to walk. He teleports around the combat arena like crazy. In first phase he will create massive beams of energy and shoot players with them. He also likes to create 2 yellow crystals which shoot an absolute crazy amount of bullets. Then he likes to create a different pattern of projectiles mixed with violet orbs which explode into more bullets. The thing is, this is your time to attack. He is immobile during this attack, so it's easier to hit him. Ah yes, Garodal hitbox is messed up. Shooting at him is very unreliable. Aim at his feet. During the yellow crystal barrage or violet orbs barrage, it's possible to position yourself in between the lines of bullets. The only thing you have to watch out then are the additional projectiles created by the exploding violet orbs. Second phase is the melee phase for Garodal. He uses twin blades and likes to charge at the player. You need to learn how to anticipate the charge and then, after it, move around the boss in mid-range. This way his fiery wave attacks won't hit you, but you can reliably deal damage to him. The key is in constant movement, as always. When he throws his swords at you, he will teleport himself to place player in a way of weapons coming back to him, so remember to step aside when he does that. In my opinion, this is the easiest phase of this fight. Third phase is pretty short, you have to fight your own reflection. The good thing is, Mirror Talal is really squishy. If your aim is good, you should be able to beat this phase before too much damage will be inflicted to you. Last phase is the hardest combat stage in the game, at least in my opinion. Garodal uses a mix of empowered abilities from the first and second stage. He will shoot laser beams at you, but he keeps teleporting really fast, so it's hard to hit him. Then he quickly teleports to the player and hits them with his melee wave ability. Then there is this meteor shower. Boss will stand in place and watch as fireballs fall into your position. This ability gives player very little time to avoid the impact. 4 or more consecutive meteors fall down into your location, giving you like 1 second to move. Camera works against the player in here. If you run upwards, then meteors falling down and blowing up will block your vision, so avoiding projectiles created by the explosions is impossible. The tip here is to try position yourself a little bit to the north before meteors drop, so you run south. This way you can see the projectiles and try to DPS the boss at the same time since he doesn't move. The same opportunity for hurting Garodal appears during his homing laser attack. He throws spinning weapons into the arena and casts a laser beam following the player. Any movement increase through either affix, passive or active skill is invaluable here. You should focus on avoiding the beam and dealing damage as boss doesn't move. I would say that Garodal's crazy teleport bullet spray ability should be just avoided, as it's really hard to reliably target him during this attack. Another tip. If you can get access to the spark ability, it deals crazy amount of damage to the boss during his immobile abilities, and it's risk-free since Talal is immune during it. Garodal gets 8 out of 10 from me. This fight and Mobus were the hardest challenges I have encountered in the game. Still, it's not the hardest I had experienced in gaming. Now, it's your time to give your opinion. Do you agree with my ranking or not? Let me know in the comments.